Welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. Hello everybody, it is wonderful to be back next to Chris Hooley. As you may have been aware, I missed Friday's show for other reasons than actually catching myself in a zipper that Chris told everybody that happened. So I am indeed safe and in one piece. So thanks for that, Chris. And hello everybody, it's amazing to see you on the chat already. I'm so pleased to be here. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Had a bit of a technical issue there, but classic me, I got here just before the show started, so yeah.
Literally, yeah. Actually, you got here after the show started, Chris. But we won't mention that.
I'm glad you watched the show back and saw my little zipper rumor that I thought I'd start.
I did.
And I left that up to the people to decide whether they thought that was true. So,
as always, I had a few caring messages from the community that we have. They're so friendly and caring, and all had many questions about my tinkle. So, it's nice. Okay. It's in one piece. That's the important thing. We have a great show on today, and we have an amazing show on Friday. It is all happening here at the WCCS right now. We have an amazing show. We have on Friday our first ever panel show. You may notice a little sneaky card up there, nice. Which is going to be either absolutely insane and a plane crash from the off, or it's going to be super fun and interesting. Chris, are you looking forward to that?
Stay optimistic, Chris. It's going to be super amazing. It's unlike anything that's out there at the moment on YouTube. So we're the first to do it. We're the first to do it in the bookish community as well. So please come and join us and support us on Friday because it's going to be super fun. Battle to the death, Halo. Team WCCS, because Halo Team and Death. Ross Young are, well, I should say their full names. Halo Scott, who's a great author, fantastic author. If you love stories, just go and check out Halo Scott because she's amazing. And Ross Young, if you love having a laugh, you may be one of those people who like having a laugh, especially if you're tuning into tonight's show because tonight's guest knows how to write a funny book.
Indeed.
And Ross Young is one of our guests on Friday supporting the WCCS, and he's a super funny author as well. So go and check those two out.
Fighting for the WCCS team as well, more importantly. Chris, we have a beer token promotion today, and it's somebody we know very well, and I like it when that happens. So today's beer token promotion you'll see in the bottom of the screen, The Decoding of Joe, Blade of Truth, which is part of a series, and we've spoken about this before. I'm sure we may have done a review. It's by Lali A, and as the Galactic Wars wage above Earth, Joe and her friends are lured to a mysterious island estate where darkness reigns. Can she save humanity from the Wizard of Bondage? Wow. Will the Blade of Truth devour her soul? Which is actually released on the 7th of July, which is very, very soon. And if you pre-order it before the 6th of July, you can be entered into a competition to win a $50 Amazon voucher, which is fantastic. So please check that out.
I mean, I'm super intrigued by the Wizard of Bondage.
Wizard of Bondage, I know. But, it's there's the cover, Chris, and it is a fantastic cover as well. Wizard of Bondage. That's Halo says love Lale's books. Lale's books. A book is amazing. Yeah, so there's a lot of love for that already. So and a £50 Amazon voucher. Just download it for that. I mean, give her the boost, and you might very much enjoy the Wizard of Bondage.
Yeah, and if you do enjoy the Wizard of Bondage, let us know. Yeah, let us know at the WCCS because we're always intrigued to know about great characters and great stories. Yeah.
Okay, so Chris, I'm excited about tonight's guest, and this is going to be interesting if I can pronounce his name. We've practiced, but let's see. So he is the award-winning author of dark comedies, as Chris mentioned, The Man Who Died, Little Siberia, Palm Beach, Finland, and The Rabbit. There's another book in there, but I can't really pronounce that one. So The Rabbit Factor, that is out very soon. And it's been picked up by Amazon Studios already, and is going to be starring a well-known actor. And he's one of Finland's most acclaimed and award-winning crime fiction writers to date. His works have been translated to more than 25 languages and crowned the King of Helsinki Noir. And he's been called the funniest writer in Europe by the Times, which is an incredible feat. So, he's gone. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Antti Tuomainen. Hello to you.
Hello. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much for taking out the time to come and join us. It really means a lot to us. And as Chris said, there's been a massive amount of hype about your books and the comedy within the dark comedy, more importantly, within the stories, which is something everybody needs to get to grips with to get through life, I think. So thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. Currently in a very small hotel in a very small town in eastern Finland, where I am about to do my first on-screen cameo role in a TV series based on one of my books. They're filming it here, so I'm going to be participating in that way.
Have you had that is fantastic and absolutely amazing. Have you had any say in what character you're going to be, or they're just going to throw you in the deep end and put you somewhere?
No, I'm going to be a guy in a cafe. I mean,
nice.
that's the extent of my acting skills. So I'm at the top of my game. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a dedicated drink you can have, or are they just like empty cups? What's the story with that, though?
I have no idea what they're gonna.
Make sure they give you a nice drink.
Have they given you a line to say, or are you just literally the one of the guys in the cafe?
I'm literally just one of the guys. I have no line. They haven't given me one single line.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was kind of
what book's that based on?
The Man Who Died.
Ah.
Yeah, that's kind of like Tim Leben when he came on the show and he got to be in his own book that was made into a film, and he just got to lie on the floor and people walk over him. But sat having a coffee is kind of nicer than that. So yeah, that is very, very cool. A lot of love for that on the chat there. So Antti, let's dive into a bit of history about yourself, and then we can talk maybe about some of your books that have had massive success and awards and nominations. And that book there we'll get into, because I absolutely love that cover, and the story, the concept is fantastic. So let's have a talk about you then. How did you get into the world of writing, and where did that come from? What's the inspiration behind that for you?
Oh my God, how much time do we have? I was maybe 18 or 19 when I instinctively or decided or knew that I would be a writer one day. And it was anything but a straight path. I started writing different kinds of things, poetry. As you know, young man, it's one of those things you go through, I suppose. Then short stories, because they were short. And I thought that they'd be easier to write. Of course, later I've learned that they're harder, actually. And then I was maybe 24, 25 when I wrote my first novel-length manuscript. It was really bad. But what he gave me was the encouragement and the knowledge that I would be able to do. I would be able to write, like a 250 page or 300 page thing. But and then it took another couple of tries when I was sort of, I think, looking for my own voice, and then I found it about 2005. I just. It was the first time I left advertising to become a writer.
Okay.
Please note, the first time I left advertising. And then I wrote that novel, and that was actually the first time when I knew that I was in control of the tone. I was in control of the story. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew sort of how to get to it. And that was the first book that was published by me. And it didn't set the world on fire, to put it in polite terms. But it was, again, it was something to begin with. And it was a noir story, a very dark, very autobiographical, I think is the word. And it was just I'm proud of it, but it was a first novel in so many ways.
Yeah.
And then I got into writing very seriously, and I wrote 5 very dark novels, of very noir novels. And that actually brings us to 2015, when I felt that I just needed to make a change in my writing. I needed to sort of bring, everything that I had to the table, sort of, like use the whole palette, and in came dark humor. And
that's where The Man Who Died came about then.
That is exactly where it came from. It was just, I was just, at that point, I just knew that I had to do something different. I knew that I had to do this in order to be fulfilled in this writing thing.
So what was your journey up to that point in terms of, getting the books out there? Had you had a plan? Were you self-publishing? What was the deal there? What was your thought process?
Did you mean like publishing as business wise, or for me as a writer, or?
Yeah, for you as a writer, how were you getting your work in front of people early on, even though the fact you accepted your early novels were early novels and you knew they weren't going to set the world on fire? Did you have a plan for them?
The first 2 novels came from a very, very small publisher, and I knew that I had to sort of get to a bigger publisher to sort of gain an audience and to sort of make it grow a bit. And it's been very slow for me, actually. It's just, and so I think in terms of getting readers and having people find my work, I think it's been very gradual. I think it's grown, but book by book. Yeah. And I think now I'm publishing my 10th book, and I think it's probably where Ian Rankin started with. I don't know, but but I think it's been, I've been working, like steadily.
I think that's a key thing to think about, is especially new writers that may be watching or listening back to this, that it's not about hitting the jackpot on book 1. It's not about the instant success. It's about a learning curve and a path, and taking every bit of every step as a bit of advice and a bit of learning, not to just get there in one go. I think that's very important to think about.
I think that's very well put, and I think I believe in that. One of the writers I really like or admire, or has been a huge influence, has been Don Winslow, who has had a career that has not been an instant overnight success. I mean, the guy is now a huge, big name, but I mean, this must be his next book coming out, must be his 25th book, something like that anyway. So it sometimes takes a while.
Yeah.
So Antti, what attracted you to writing dark humor? Because for me, from the outside looking in, that's kind of when you're talking about your book starting to take off and your readership starting to grow. When with The Man Who Died, obviously going from that dark humor element, and obviously you've done it again in this book. What attracted you to write in that sort of format and that style? Because obviously sometimes we think, oh, that's really funny. But to test it out on a live audience when it is of a certain nature can be quite a tricky thing to do. So what was the appeal in there?
I think I have to go back a bit, like when I said that I had been writing very dark stuff. And there was a point in writing book 5 of those very serious, very dark novels, where I realized that if I do this scene differently, how I really feel that it should be done, it would be hilarious in a very terrible way, which is the best way.
Yeah.
But it just didn't fit that book. And I realized that I'm not using everything I've got. So in the end, I don't think I really had a choice in the matter, because I knew that, next time I'm going to start a book, I just have to go all out. I have to do what I really have inside me, or what I really feel. And there was a pull to this dark humor, because that's part of how I see things. It feels natural. Actually, yeah, that's I think the essence of it. It's just natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great when you mentioned that you took your time to find your voice, and which way you wanted to write, and then that you didn't instantly think this is where it fits, and if it didn't work there, some people may have given that up, but the fact that you persisted there and you actually found what you were looking for is a really good thing as well. Another great lesson that if you're a new writer and you start writing a certain genre, it doesn't mean that's the way it should be. So yeah, that's great. It's another great lesson.
So Antti, tell us a little bit then about the rabbit factor and how that came to be. Where the idea came from. What, obviously, if people are watching this now and don't know what it's about, can you give us a little taste of what it's about, like your elevator pitch, if you like?
I'm really bad at these. My agent is, always telling me that you have to. But it's a novel about love, death, and insurance mathematics.
Yeah.
I know. And it tells a story about one very, very rational man who encounters a world that is highly disorganized and chaotic, and he runs into things that are not, in his control, because he likes to control everything, and he would wish to be, he would wish to sort of pre-count everything, to estimate, to count probabilities beforehand, before doing anything. And now he's thrown into situations where that just doesn't apply.
There's a great concept to this, and I really like it. When you read the blurb of this book, and you mention how that person's character is then obviously, influenced by all the external factors, but the fact that there's an adventure park that comes into play as well, which in itself, like an amusement park, is something that's chaotic to someone trying to look after or control, and use that as a financial backing. So there's so many elements to this that you could see the fact that it is being optioned by Amazon Studios. Someone like Steve Carell is involved, and you can instantly see that sort of character being played very well by that certain person. So how did you feel about that news when you received that, and is it kind of in your head the way it should be going?
The day I received those news, it was just one of those moments that my agent called. I mean, he called me before, a month before these news. He called it. He knows that he's got these persons that he would like to show the book to pitch this book to. And I said, fine, that sounds great. And he calls a month later and tells me that those two people that, two instances that I was talking about, one of them is Amazon Studios and one of them is Steve Carell. And I was quiet. I was just dead quiet on the phone. And he asked me, "Are you okay? Or don't you know who Steve Carell is?"
Yeah.
When I could finally speak, I do know who Steve Carell is.
Wait, yeah, you didn't tell me it was these people.
Yeah, but it was one of those moments, just because it's so beyond anything you ever thought possible that could happen, or anything that when you write the book you don't think of, oh, Steve Carell's gonna play this guy. No, just never.
He kind of plays similar characters in his movies and whatever he's been in. But do you kind of feel that that's kind of relatable character to the way you wrote him? Because obviously as an author you find a very strong voice in your own character. Does that match up for you? What
a good question. It's it's now funny. Because I've been watching a lot of Office lately, for some reason. I don't know. So I see a lot of his, like facial expressions, the way he can make a situation awkward, and I can see that. Oh, right, yeah, that's the thing. But no, I just never thought anything like this could ever happen. No.
Wow, it's amazing. So, the inspiration then for your character in this story, I mean, dark humor fits, the story very well. But did you have an idea of the character first, or kind of the backdrop of the story? How did you mold this story together?
I always start with the character and the character's problem, and this one came about in a very clear one of those moments where you realize that you've got a character. You just got it. I was walking home after a day at work. I had been watching the news after finishing up my work, and I was walking home, and I thought the world is a pretty crazy place. This was 2.5 years ago. And all of a sudden I was thinking, what if there was a person who insists that the world still has to make sense? I mean, what kind of person would that be? And, in about 15 minutes, I had the character in my mind, someone who is, so rational, so believes in statistics and logic and rationality. And it was just one of those things that, this has happened to me once. But he was born that way. But I always start with a character, and to me, character is the plot. Character is, character and his or her. I've written about, female characters as well. Character and her problem. And that's, for me, is the story and the plot.
It's fantastic, it really is.
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, go on.
Yeah, sorry. It's mentioned on your website as well that you translated around 25 languages with your stories. And have you played much of a part in that? And how is that process done for you?
I don't really play a big part. I do comment on the English translation that lately has been done by David Haxton, who is a Brit living in Finland, and does beautiful translations. Finnish is the hardest language. I can't understand why anyone would learn that. But David has, and he does a beautiful translation. And I think one part of his translation, why it's so good, is that he's a musician, and he's got this sense of rhythm and the music of whatever the text has, that how it flows. He translates, and it really does sound, when I read the English translation, it really is. It's the Finnish book, but it's in English. I mean, sounds corny and obvious. Yeah. That isn't always the case with translations.
Yeah.
Well, I know how you feel with Welsh being a language, but yeah, it's well, obviously they translate the sentences in a different way when you translate directly to English. So I understand what you're saying, that he's obviously done it in a very unique way that translates perfectly. So that's a really good job.
So Antti, with the opening of the Rabbit Factor, then obviously you got Henry going through a very random situation in terms of, he's kind of, obviously I'm not giving too much away here, but he's kind of going through a child's play area like a lot of parents do, but in a very serious adult way, because obviously something is happening to him during the process of him trying to scramble through this area. How did that come to be? Have you got like small children where you've been in the play center with them and gone, oh, this would be really interesting if this was happening, and just kind of threw it into the story?
The setting is always such an important part of my books, and I like to get a feel to them. And this was, I visited this sort of an adventure park only in passing, and it made a huge impression on me. It was just full of noise and these things that kids were climbing and falling and doing stuff, and it was an impressive sight. I just thought it was one of those moments I thought this would make a really great background for anything. But I haven't done any extensive research as to I haven't gone out and played there myself, or like some writers immerse themselves in these things. I mean, I was just so impressed by that place.
Have you got like a giant rabbit's ear that you've maybe tried or played around with? Obviously, I'm not going to give it. I'm not going to give it away because I don't want to give anything in the book away. But the rabbit's ear is a bit of a factor. So have you had a go with the rabbit's ear?
No, like I said, I haven't immersed myself that much. But I've seen something like that.
Oh wow!
Obviously, not in that view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love the cover for this. I really, really do. Did you have any sort of design insight on this, or was it kind of just provided from the story?
Which one?
The rabbit factor. Really, really love the cover for this. How much input did you have?
Oh, the cover. It's fantastic. Mark Swan does the covers. I think most of the covers for Orenda books, and he is a wizard. It took a while to find the right look for this one, but I think Mark nailed it. That is one of the covers that it's one of those covers that tells you what kind of book it is, and it's really important. It tells you roughly what's inside, and I think that's wonderful. It brings out sort of the spirit of the book, I think. Well, anyway, I might be a bit subjective,
Well, he's a book wizard, not a wizard of bondage. Anyway, so Chris, we got some staple
wizard.
some staple questions on the show. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So one of the first staple questions is if you could take any character from fiction and make that character your own and do whatever you wanted with them. So put them into one of your existing stories, make an entirely new story. Which character from fiction would you choose and why?
Oh my God, what a question.
Mario says covers are so important. They are indeed.
Oh my God, what a question.
We can move on if you're stuck.
This is impossible. This is really.
Is there a character from fiction who you would like to give them a rabbit ear? If you catch my drift.
There's probably several. But I mean, the characters that I fell in love with were sort of these very early on. I love these. For example, there is an American crime writer, James Lee Berg. He has a Dave Robichaud, and they are wonderful novels. They are, of course, serious, very, very, very dark. But I think there was something in that character that appealed to me as a young writer when I was trying to learn how to write, and that I think the depth and whatever those books had, I think that was one of the things. But I think Lawrence Block has also written a beautiful series of crime novels, Matt Scudder novels. And Matt Scudder I love because he's so much like Lawrence Block. And so, and it is a guy I'd love to have a coffee with.
Yeah.
Nice. Love that.
Fantastic. So moving on from that one, if you could take the ending to anything, and of course there's TV and film involved with a lot of the story we talked about at the moment, from fiction, TV or film, take any ending and change it, for good or for bad, what ending would you change?
I don't know why I'm thinking this, but the ending in Casablanca. I mean,
Wow.
it's
Never had that.
it's either it has to, go further, or it has to stop earlier. I mean, it stops in a place where I either want to know more, or we need to see something bigger happening. But I love that film.
Are you a fan of cliffhangers in stories?
If they're I tend to go for something that has like character driven stories that have something to do with. I don't like cliffhangers for the sake of the cliffhanger. It has to be something related to how the character is. So
Yeah.
Something very, very how would I say, touching or important for the character, so I can feel it.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
Okay.
Anya says she's jumped ahead of question time. Sorry. She says, ideally, how would you like to see Casablanca end?
Oh, I was fearing this would come up. I don't know. I always wanted to know what happens then, because I was obviously a kid when I saw the film first time. I just wanted to, follow these people and what happens next. I suppose it was just, what happens next? I mean, what happens after this? Because it's going to get worse, and it's going to get more difficult, and it's going to get. But of course, it was Humphrey Bogart, so it would have been fine.
So we're going to take you into a place where you're a little bit more comfortable. So on the darker side of the questions now. And this next question is, if you could resurrect any author on the condition that you got to write a novel with them, but then part of that condition was that you had to kill them, who would you resurrect? What type of novel would you write? And then how would you kill them?
I mean, kill the author?
Yeah. After you've done the story.
I mean, I really wouldn't.
You could hire it out.
I mean, all the authors that you're obviously going to bring up, they're already dead anyway. So it's not like you have to kill one that's there now. Like,
in my defense, he was already dead. Yeah.
Came back to write a great story, but he's dead now.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's an awkward one.
It is an awkward one.
Well, let's start with who you'd like to resurrect to write a story with. Who would you be interested in writing with from the past?
I would love to write with one of those screwball writers, or one of those guys who wrote for the Marx Brothers, or one of those screwball writers. What were their names? Working for Howard Hawks and every one of those guys, because they could write insane stuff, just non-stop dialogue and just non-stop and sort of nonsensical, but still very good. I don't know if you remember those Cary Grant films that just had this banter and I usually can remember some of the names because there was I think Ben Hecht and what were the names of those guys? But anyway,
Charles Beckett, Charles Brackett, Billy Wilder.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so I'm resurrecting one of those guys.
Okay.
And
Nice.
Sadly, I have to kill him after writing a really great comedy film with him.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
How would you kill him?
Oh, well, but he was already dead, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was already dead.
I think we'll let him have a pass on this one, Chris. He's struggling with his
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
surely like comedy gold is like a couple of guys pulling a piano in the street.
Oh, yeah.
You're walking, chatting to him. You bend down to tie your shoe. He carries on walking, and then the piano collapses on him, and you play a little tune, maybe. Dun, dun, dun.
That would be brilliant.
Very humane. Yeah.
Yeah, the piano is good for killing people humanely.
Yeah.
Hooli is merciless. Oh, I can't even say that word. You say it.
Merciless.
That's the one. So the final question before we move on to the new family member and some questions from you guys coming up shortly. When you are looking back at your career, as Chris likes to put it, on your deathbed, how would you like to see your career, as a highlight? What would be success for you, and what would that look like?
I really wish I would have known beforehand some of these questions.
That spoils the fun.
I know. I would be just very happy if some of that stuff I wrote was good enough to someone to pick up a book and say, well, he was actually, writing some good stuff.
I think you've achieved that already.
Yeah, I can do that for you right now.
Yeah.
He was actually writing some good stuff.
Brilliant. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the new family member. And this is a part, Antti, where we introduce someone that followed us on Twitter recently who doesn't have many followers, and they're getting into the writing world. And we want to give them a bit of a boost. And do you know what a GIF or a GIF is? Do you know what that is?
A GIF?
A GIF, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on Twitter and animated social media, we're going to send them one of those collectively from the audience. What theme do you want to send them? And answer that when we come back from a very short video. So, Chris, are you ready?
I am indeed.
Today's family member is Joe Balme, at Joe Balme. He follows us, and I'm Joe, he says, a 35-year-old writer. My writings vary from sci-fi stories to short fiction stories. I've even recently wrote my first children's bedtime story, which is fantastic. Well done to you. And he's only got 6 followers, Chris. Can we help this guy out?
I could if I could find him. But that Twitter handle is not bringing up his name.
Well, he is definitely a human that follows us on Twitter, because I copied that directly. See if you can find him.
Come on, Joe, where are you?
So, Antti, what theme?
I know at the end, Joe Balemo.
Oh, there you go. What gift should we send this person?
Something that says, "Keep writing." Some, like.
That is probably the first motivational GIF we've ever sent from the show.
Yeah.
Can you find one, Chris?
I'm trying to find him. There's a Joe Balemo who has 200. No, he's a cool dad. It's not him.
All right, I will show you right now. I'm going to share this screen with you, which is the first time we've had to do this. But hang on. Share screen. Where is he?
Come on, Joe.
There is he, Joe, Joebalme. 9 followers now. He's gone up already.
Can't see that, mate.
No? I'm going to copy this and paste it in the comments just for you.
Yep, thank you. That would be helpful.
Okay, and that's exactly how I spelt it. There it is in the chat. Joebalme. Joe Balme.
I wonder if the capital letters are being a factor.
No one can find him. He's definitely there. Anyway, we'll get back to that. So, while they're doing that, Antti, is there any author that you really like to read that you could recommend people look into?
Well, there is one of my all-time favorites that has probably influenced me in a pretty big way. Elmer Leonard.
Great choice.
And he is a great writer to read because he does things that are quite amazing. Actually, he can really do something on a page that come alive and do it so simply and just effectively and no one can write like him. I mean, completely original, his own very own style and almost a genre.
Yeah, I mean, Elmer Leonard has been like an influence in a lot of people's writing careers. I know Quentin Tarantino has referenced him a few times in terms of his dialogue and learning from him in that respect. And I'm making a slight leap here because Tarantino has released a novel recently based on Once Upon a Time in America. What's your thoughts on that process in terms of, like, obviously he's known for his film writing skills and his abilities, and now he's kind of switched it over into a novel platform, which some people may say, you know, he's making money from the film and then making money from the book, which is the same sort of idea. Or how do you feel about that?
I haven't read the book, obviously, but I think there are. I mean, what's unique about Tarantino is that I think he's written himself all his films. I mean, so he wrote screenplays before that. Oliver Stone did one, and somebody else as well, Tony Scott. So it's not uncommon for people to be both screenwriters and writers of books. Yeah. And so in that sense, it's not very so out of place or anything. So it's certainly interesting. But I think what I personally, just, you know, from my own very, very own personal point of view, I would have liked to, you know, read something completely new from him. Something entirely different from that movie that I've already seen. You know, obviously it's not going to be the film, but I would have liked, you know, something completely different, something surprising, you know.
The one thing they say with that, Chris, though, with Tarantino, is that they've always said that he writes his screenplays with too much detail, almost like he's writing, you know, an early draft of a novel. So perhaps the tendency was always there for him, and now he's just putting, you know, that into practice with his experiences. Definitely interested. So let's get on to the writing community question time. Guys, if you have questions for our guest, for us, now is the time to send them in. We will pop them on screen if they're worthy and not abusive, which we don't get. So pop them on screen and we'll ask them. So send them in now and we will get into that. Our first one from Anya. Hello, Anya. Thanks for joining us as always.
Chris, come on. Give us the videos, man.
The question time video.
We have the pro writing aid and the question time video.
Oh, okay. We'll get into it. Hi guys, I'm here to talk about the amazing Pro Writing Aid and how I wish I had this software in my first 2 novels. I'm writing my 3rd at the moment and I really want to get it sent off to a real publisher, and this is going to make all the difference.
Yeah, if you want to get yourself agent ready, then this is definitely the tool for you. And it's got a really cool tool where you can compare your writing to somebody else's. So you can compare your work to Stephen King or Paul Hawkins. Yeah, really test yourself. Go to town. It's fun.
It is fantastic. And if you click on the link in the description of the podcast or the YouTube video, you will find a 20% discount affiliate link, which will help us out and help yourself out. So please check out Pro Writing Aid today. In the chat there, Hooli loves cracking the whip and loves those segues.
Do you know, I love that was recorded by 10-year-older me. And then obviously I must have found a way to come back in time because I look massively younger compared to that video.
Oh, you know,
crazy.
Pick yourself up there, Chris.
Okay. Well, I do. I was just like, who is that guy?
Oh, brilliant. Okay, so let's get on to the actual question time video. We've got 1 or 2 questions in there, guys. Please send, you know, plenty of them in there. We've got a good 15 minutes left, so plenty of question time. So, okay, Anya, thank you for your question. And now, Chris, can I proceed?
Yeah, go for it. I mean,
Thanks,
I'm
mate.
satisfied
Cheers.
now. The videos have been played, so.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks. From Anya, what is the weirdest book that you have ever read?
I was
love it.
maybe 24. I don't know if it's the weirdest book, but it was one of those books that you find and you just don't know anything about, and you read it and it's like, what the hell is this? And that was Louis Ferdinand Céline's A Long Day's Journey into the Night, or something like that. I don't remember the title in English so well, but it's a French book. He wrote it in maybe 30s, 40s. I don't know, but it's about 700 pages, and it's filled with it's hard to explain. It's a story, but it's also it's macabre. It's riotous. It's vulgar. And it's like, I realized reading that book that you can really put anything into a novel and call it a novel. And it was one of those, I don't know if it's the weirdest book, but it was one of those, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah. There was a film recently, maybe last year, with Seth Rogen in. I kind of got that vibe with that, and I can't remember what it's called, but it was absolutely insane. You're right, though. I think with books that you can get away with so much more compared to TV or film. They just allow you to be more expressive in that sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Halo Scott, thank you. What is your favorite taboo topic to explore in dark humor?
Oh, great question.
Yeah.
It is a great question. I don't know if obviously death by itself is not a taboo subject, but it's, when you look at it from a certain point of view, then it's uncomfortable to talk about it. And I think in The Man Who Died, I did something that turned that thing into a kind of slant, or did something with the idea of death that was humorous and warm and funny. I mean, that's just my subjective take on the matter, but I think it's because it's such a huge thing. It happens only once, doesn't it? And so it's not a taboo, obviously, but talking about it in a certain way might be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it is only supposed to happen once, unless a chat show resurrects you to kill you again. So you never know; that could happen.
Yeah,
this is one of the toughest talks I've ever done.
We're sorry, and the question's not getting easier from the audience.
I love that. That's great.
We'll move on if we have to. And from Halo again, what serious story would you like to spoof? Which again is a very tough question.
It is a very tough question because I mean, instantly you start talking about things that become parodies, and parodies, they've already been done so many times. I love Naked Gun and whatever the sequels. They
as well.
Or Airplane, Hot Shots, and each one of those, and of course they're spoofing sometimes serious stories. So I don't know if I'd go for a spoof anymore because they've been done so many times and so well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you got to appreciate that word spoof. I mean, it just sounds great in any language, doesn't it? Spoof. I think so. Anyway, I think it's a fun word to say. Spoof.
Just keep saying it, Chris. Great.
Yeah, why not?
Mario says, you mentioned that you started with a small publisher. Would you recommend that to authors rather than waiting for the big one?
Very good question. For me, it was a good thing. For me, it was a very good thing, actually, because I started writing the kinds of things no one was writing in Finland. Well, no one is writing what I'm writing now either, but that's a different thing. But I mean, for me, it was a very good thing. It gave me sort of a freedom and sort of try my wings and find my voice, like I said. for me, it just went the way it really was supposed to. I must say, in hindsight, yeah.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Good question and great answer. Alison says Hooli was in Hot Tub Time Machine, which is also the Fountain of Youth, 2 for 1. So they get
yeah, definitely. I was thinking about that spoof question, and I would write a spoof about a morgue, I think, because obviously a very serious topic. People come there, they're all sad and everything, but a spoof set in a morgue, I think, would be hilarious. I think if you did it, especially if you did it the right way, because there's a lot of funny natural things that occur, obviously, when the body is decomposed and stuff like that anyway. And a lot of situations that you can put characters in that would be very funny, I should imagine.
Okay. Linda, thank you for your question. How do you maintain the balance between writing dark and humorous?
Another good question. This is one of those things that you both sort of find out by writing and trying and repeating that very thing. But also when you do enough of writing in this same vein, so to speak, you do develop an instinct of what is suitable for this story, and every story dictates its own tone. So you have to be very faithful to that. You can't, because you can't break that spell. You have to go, once the tone is set, then you have to be faithful to it.
Brilliant. Cool. Yeah, right, we'll give you one more. I think we've frying you a little here with too many intense questions. Lali says, is there a line you won't cross while writing dark humor?
There's probably a few things that I wouldn't feel personally wouldn't feel comfortable joking about or making humor out of.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say what those would be, but there are certain things that I don't find inherently funny in any way. I mean, no matter how you turn them, they don't become anything funny.
Definitely.
But that's just me. People are different.
Yeah.
So, Antti, what's one of the funniest situations you've had with maybe, like, obviously you might not have done too many book signings recently with COVID and stuff, but have you had like a situation at a book signing when you've been like, oh my God, I cannot believe that happened, I'm going to have to tell everybody this story?
Well, they're mostly stories that are very embarrassing for myself. I mean, sitting alone in a place where no one, comes, or I was starting out, I was on a panel with this very, 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 very famous writer, and afterward we were signing books, and in front we were signing next to one another, and in front of him there was a line of maybe 150 people at least, and I was sitting alone, with no one coming up to me, and that was one of those moments where you're, oh my God, well, I mean, is this what I got into?
You're like, do you need a hand signing? I've got some time. That must have been, intimidating. But again, we keep coming back to the thought process that you've gone through the graft to get where you are. You haven't just gone, do you know what? No one came to my signing, I'm going to give up. You've never done that. And that's why, I think this story is fantastic, because every hurdle that a lot of people might have doubted themselves, you've kept going, and now you're starting to get the rewards from that.
Or you have to persist. I mean, writing one book is a remarkable feat. I mean, if you can do that, then you can write the next one. And there are some ups and downs in this. Even when you're publishing several books and you've made some, you made some steps upwards, and it's still going to be so rough, and it's still sometimes so grueling and heartbreaking, and But I mean, in the end, you just keep going. You just go back to your desk and just start from the beginning. I don't know.
Just keep swimming.
Yeah. So, Antti, what does that look like for you? Like, in terms of what's the typical writing day? Like, if you're, say you wake up tomorrow and it's going to be a writing day, what does that look like in terms of, have you got a routine? Do you have certain snacks? Do you have certain rituals? Like, I don't know what a ritual could be, but like wearing the same pair of socks or something like that.
Well, I've been very blessed. I've been a professional writer, a novelist for 10 years, so I'm a privileged person. So what I can do is I start the day at about 9 o'clock in the morning. I stop in the evening at about 6 o'clock. I do about 4 hours of actual writing new stuff. And the rest of the day is mostly taking care of other things involved in this business, because there's so many things that you have to do in this profession nowadays that starting from social media, keeping in contact with publishers. I have publishers in different countries. I stay in touch with my agent. We talk a lot because there's a lot of stuff happening right now. Again, I've been very blessed and very lucky and very privileged. So, I mean, there's films and movies and I'm writing things that I never thought I would be writing, and besides books, and I'm working on so many things, but I really love those days when it's just writing, when it's just, that is the thing that I can do. I mean, those are the days.
Amazing. How did you manage that transition from working, in marketing and working in a I say this in a wrong way, but in a normal job, to then working for yourself, writing from home? How did you manage that transition originally?
I suppose it was easy in a way, because I was fired from an ad agency. I mean, not fired. It sounds better than laid off. Is that the term that you use when you're laid off because of redundancies? Or okay, I was laid off. So it was very easy for me to consider starting a writing career, because I wasn't doing anything else. But I got but in that moment I was not a professional novelist. I couldn't make enough to bring, so I did all kinds of writing, and I've written pretty much anything and everything you can write in the Finnish language to make a living. I've done everything you can possibly imagine.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And now acting as well, to add to that busy list.
It's my
it's still a day's work. I mean, it's busy. Anyway, so we're hitting the hour now. We're so grateful for you to come and share your story with us. But before we do go, the Rabbit Fact is out, I think September. Is that right?
September, yeah.
Yeah. So there's plenty of time for people to catch up on your back catalogue. Where can they find your books? Is there a website they can go to see more about you?
Oh my God.
Tough questions again.
Yeah, I know. In the UK, I think Orenda Books is presenting my books very well. You can find them on Amazon. Naturally, you can find them in independent bookshops. You can find them if that's what you're.
Yeah,
after.
I've got. There is a link somewhere. I've seen it earlier. What I'll do is I'll post that in the comments, and guys can have a look at that way as well. But you are available in those other platforms as standard as well. So guys, please, there's been some great comments on the previous books as well. The sound of the blurbs of those books are incredible, and there's been a lot of love for that. So please check that out before September, and they'll pick up the Rabbit Factor with the most amazing cover. And again, our sponsor for the show, which is Lali Love's book, please check that out and let us know about the Wizard of Bondage, because that, again, if you pre-order it right now or before the 6th of July, you will be entered into a competition. It's well worth winning too. And if you need to know,
That is I would love to see
the what?
the spoof on that.
Yeah.
On that very serious topic of bondage, there would be a great spoof there.
Wizard Bondage. Yeah, a wonderful interview. Brilliant. Bravo, fellas. Incredible interview. Such a great show. Thank you all. And Skittles, of course. So, guys, thank you again so much for joining us. We are incredibly excited and a little bit nervous about Friday's show. Well, I am. I'm not saying Chris is. But it's going to be another first for us, and we keep doing this and in a great way, exciting ourselves. And we hope that you will be there to support to support the rest of the community that will be fighting alongside us for this panel show that's going to be a lot of fun. Chris, you wind up here. Guys, look after yourselves. Antti, thank you so much for joining us. Chris Hooley, behave, and we'll see you on Friday.
Thank you so much, guys. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.